Hello and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a really fascinating idea, the connection between our state of mind and our ability to actually see the beauty that's all around us. It's something we think we do every day, but maybe there's a lot more to it than we realize.
Right? We are surrounded by beauty, in nature, in art, even just in a little passing moment. But here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Are you just seeing it, or are you truly experiencing it? Because there is a huge difference, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack here.
So let's kick things off by exploring those really rare, almost kind of magical moments where we feel this deep, deep connection with the world.
When was the last time something like this happened to you? Maybe it was looking up at a perfectly clear night sky full of stars, or maybe just hearing a bird singing right at dusk. These moments, they feel different, don't they? They just stop you in your tracks. So what is going on there?
Well, it turns out, to really become aware of that majesty, that sacred feeling, our minds have to get quiet. We have to, even if it's just for a split second, put down all our personal baggage, the worries about yesterday, the plans for tomorrow. Without that stillness, we might see something, but we don't truly see it. We hear, but we're not truly hearing.
And that, right there, brings us to the single biggest barrier that keeps us from having these experiences more often, the constant, non-stop noise of our own minds.
Okay, so this is the difference. A busy mind, it looks at a flower and immediately slaps a label on it. Pretty flower. Done. It's fast, it's almost mechanical. But an aware, present mind, it doesn't just label it. It feels the flower's essence. It's holiness, you could say, without needing any words at all.
And this idea of being imprisoned in our minds, it's way more common than you'd think. When someone is trapped up there in their thoughts, the beauty of nature just becomes a concept. That quick little thought, what a pretty flower, that's not an experience of beauty. It's just a mental checkbox. They don't truly see the flower because they aren't still enough to feel its essence.
So, how do we break out of this prison of the mind? Well, the answer is all about finding a state of stillness and total presence.
There's a word for this, Satori. It's a Zen term, and it means a flash of insight, a moment of no mind. And the wild thing is, you've probably experienced this a bunch of times without ever knowing what to call it. It's that little taste of a deeper awareness we get when we are just totally present. Okay, so here's how the process usually goes. First, there's this moment of thoughtless perception, just a pure awareness of beauty. Then, a split second later, the mind comes rushing in to name it, to interpret it. Wow, that's a beautiful sunset. The moment that thought arrives, the direct experience is already starting to become a memory. The real key here is the gap, the amount of time between that initial perception and the thought that follows. That gap actually determines your level of consciousness. If it's super narrow, you barely even notice that state of no mind. But the wider that gap is, the more depth there is to you as a person. And just think about what that means. The mind itself, it can't recognize or create beauty. Beauty only exists in that gap, in that moment of pure presence. The second you start thinking about it, you're not experiencing it directly anymore. All you have left is the memory of it.
So if this is true for us as individuals, what happens when you scale it up? What happens when an entire culture is dominated by this constant mental noise? What does that do to the world we all share?
Well, the argument is that because we live in such a mind-dominated culture, a lot of the things we create are kind of devoid of that inner essence. You can think of certain examples in modern art, or architecture, music, or literature. The idea is, if the creators can't free themselves from their minds, even for a moment, they can't access that inner place where true creativity and beauty really come from.
And that leads to a pretty stark conclusion. When the mind is just left to its own devices, completely disconnected from presence and that deeper stillness, it doesn't just fail to create beauty. It can actually create ugliness.
Look around at some of our urban landscapes or industrial wastelands. The source material argues that this lack of collective presence has led to a world where, despite all our incredible advancements, we've also produced an amount of ugliness that's, well, pretty unprecedented. It's a really powerful and challenging thought.
But okay, this isn't just about the world out there. The most profound part of this whole idea brings us right back to ourselves, connecting the beauty we see on the outside to something incredibly deep within us.
Whenever and wherever there is beauty, in a flower, a stream, a piece of music, there's something more going on than just the physical form. There's this ineffable,
nameless, inner essence that shines through. But here's the catch. It only reveals itself to you when you are present.
And here it is. This is the question that's at the very heart of this entire explainer. What if that nameless essence that shines through all things beautiful, and your own presence, that state of still awareness, what if they are actually the exact same thing? What if you are not separate from the beauty you perceive?
So, we're going to end with a challenge for you. Would that beauty, that sacred essence, even be there without your presence to perceive it? Don't just take someone's word for it. This is something to explore in your own life. The next time we see something beautiful, just try to hold that gap of stillness open for just a moment longer. Go find out for yourself.